Hello and welcome to another episode of Career Strategies. My name is Rodney Hughes, Mr. 100%. And in today's video, we're going to talk about this, how to overcome fear. Okay. How to overcome fear. Do you know how to overcome fear? Listen, fear is one of those things that can either be a gift or it can be a curse. Okay. And sadly, for too many people, it ends up being a curse. Okay. It ends up robbing them of their youth, robbing them of their dream, robbing them of their potential. Okay. And so at some point, if you want to live up to what you were here and created for, you have to learn how to overcome your fear. Okay. And so in this video, what I'm going to teach you is a simple way that you can go about overcoming your fear, no matter what the fear is. Okay. I'm going to share with you a simple approach that I have used and that I've taught other people to use that I believe can be of some great help to you in your career so that you can actually start tapping into the potential that you have. Because I do believe that you have a unfathomable amount of potential. Okay. So I'm going to share that with you in this upcoming video. Today's video is being brought to you by Interview Prep University, a free virtual training platform that you can actually go to, get free access to. It's 100% free. And it's going to teach you how to exponentially improve your job interview skills. And so it doesn't matter whether you are fresh out of high school or college and going into the workforce, or whether you are a seasoned veteran with 20, 30 years up under your belt, and now you're getting back out on the job hunt. This is a resource that can help you regardless of what level you're at in your career, and help you be able to get a competitive advantage and really be able to get into a situation that you want to get into from an employment perspective. So if you like to get free access to this, all you got to do is go to www.interviewprepuniversity.com. Again, that's www.interviewprepuniversity.com. All right. Or you could just click on the link beneath this video. All right. So again, what we're talking about here is how to overcome fear. Okay. So let's start here. Okay. Let's start with defining this. Okay. So I like to look at fear as an acronym. Now I forgot exactly who I heard this from. I know for sure that I heard it from my old college football coach. But I think I actually may have heard it before that. And so sorry, I'm not able to give the right person credit, but, let's just say this. Fear is an acronym, okay? And I want you to treat it as an acronym. And that acronym stands for false expectations appearing real, okay? False expectations appearing real. That's what fear is, right? It's false expectations. You're expecting something, but it's false. You're expecting things to go all wrong, okay? And it appears real. Right? And so you end up expecting something that seems so real to you. You can just envision everything going wrong, and you can just see it crystal clear. You know, a lot of times I like to tell people when it comes to fear, fear is your imagination playing tricks on you. Okay. Do you realize how powerful your imagination is as a human being? You have the ability to imagine whatever it is you want to imagine. But most people use their imagination against themselves. Most people, instead of thinking about all the reasons why something can go positive, they flood their mind and use their imagination to flood their mind with all the ways that things can end up going bad. And by the way, just to be honest with you, I am horrible at this. Okay. So don't think that I'm just talking to you. Okay. I'm talking to myself when I say this, because I know I have this problem. I can tend to be pretty pessimistic about different things in life. And that's something that I have to work towards every day to be more optimistic, but see, the difference between me and a lot of other people is I know that I'm doing this. And so many other people don't know that they're doing it. Right? So many other people don't realize that they are their own worst enemy. So when you think about You know, that's kind of like the underlying premise of that book, that best-selling book, The Secret, right? It's all about visualization and all that type of stuff. Because the reality is that your imagination is powerful. Okay, it's extremely powerful, right? You think about when you think about your imagination, you have the ability to see things before it even happens. Okay, you have the ability, right? You have the ability to focus on big things, or you have the ability to focus on small things, right? And here's the best way I can prove it to you, right? Everybody has 24 hours. I don't care if you're a trillionaire, okay? I don't care how rich the richest person that has ever graced this planet has been. If with all the money in the world, you can't buy an extra second in a day. Nobody gets 24 hours in 1 second. You see do you see what I'm saying? So if everybody has the same amount of time, why is it that some people accomplish so much more? Have you ever wondered that? Why is it in one 24-hour period, right? Well, let's put it like this. Why is it in 1 year you got one person who's trying to figure out how to make minimum wage, right? And in that same year, you got somebody trying to figure out how to make $10,000 in that every month for that year, right? So let's break it down on a month basis, right? In a month, why is it that some people are trying to figure out how to make $10 an hour, right? In a month, you have somebody else trying to figure out how to make $10,000 in that month. In that same month, you got another person trying to figure out how to make $100,000 in that month. In that same amount of time, you got another person who's trying to figure out how to make $1 million in that month. In the same amount of time, you got another person trying to figure out how to make 10 million. In the same time, you got another person trying to figure out how to make 100 million. And in the same amount of time, you got another person trying to figure out how to make $1 billion, right? Everybody got the same time, huh? Everybody got the same time. But some people are using their power of imagination to figure out how to accomplish what they want to accomplish. But what's sad is that a lot of people use their imagination to envision. They use this powerful gift, this incredible gift, to envision all the hell that can break loose in their life. They think about all the negative stuff. They focus on all the negative things that could possibly happen that have not happened, by the way. Okay? But they start thinking about all the negative things. Okay? And listen, I'm telling you, I've been there. It's been me. That's why I can speak on it so well. Because I've been there. I've been the person who thought, oh, it's going to all fall apart. Oh, it's going to all fall. But see, the danger of thinking that way, the danger of using that powerful imagination towards thinking that way, is that you start looking to justify that thought. You go looking, you don't even realize it, but you start taking actions on that thought process that get you closer to what it is that you're focusing on. Because that's how your imagination works. If you use your imagination to think about ways to get something done, then you start focusing on getting things done, right? And then you start taking action on what you're focusing on to get those things done. If you start thinking about all the ways that something could go wrong, then you start focusing on all the different things that could potentially go wrong. And instead of you trying to figure out a solution to make it go right, you start taking action towards those things that are going wrong. And then you find yourself in a situation one day where you're just constantly depressed. You know why? Because you have used your imagination the wrong way. And fear is the main way that you go about it, right? That fear is the main thing, right? Fear is just a byproduct of you using your imagination the wrong way. And it keeps you from really living up to your potential. Okay. So again, fear is false expectations. You're expecting something that's false, appearing real. And because it appears real, you actually get nervous and you actually take action to avoid that false expectation. You see how that works? Now, I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a real story here. So I remember back when I was in college, we used to have a president's assembly, right? Which is where the president of Bethune-Cookman University would call all the students at the university into our Performing Arts Center, okay, that held like, I don't know how many people that place held. I want to say maybe 2,000, 3,000 people or something like that. I could be grossly over exaggerating that, but I think it's something like 2,000 or 3,000 people, right? And so in the President's Day Assembly, the president would speak to not only the students, but would also speak to all of the staff. So at the President's Day Assembly, everybody at the school essentially would be at this particular event, okay? And so I'll never forget, I think this was either my junior year or my senior year in college. And I guess because of some of the things that I had accomplished, I want to say my cousin, who was the athletic director, referred me to somebody who was putting together a panel of, student athletes or not necessarily student athletes. They were putting together like a panel of leaders on the college campus that were actually students and allowing them to speak on particular topics, right? And so the topic that I had to like interview to do this or whatever. So I ended up interviewing, and then the topic that I ended up choosing to talk about was leadership. Okay. And so I remember the day of the event, I'm like super nervous, right? Because after all, right, they say that public speaking is like, I think they say it's like the number one fear. Like more people are afraid of public speaking than they are death itself. And so I was super nervous. Okay. I was super duper nervous. And so it was a panel of 5 of us, me as the captain of the football team. There was a young lady who I think was the captain of the girls basketball team. And then there were 3 other students who I think were like ambassadors or whatever on the campus or something like that. And I think they were part of SGA, the Student Government Association. And so we're all sitting up there, right? And as I start seeing people trickle in, because we're already sitting on stage as people are starting to come in. And the more I see people coming in, the more and more nervous I'm starting to become, right? But I'm not the only one who's becoming nervous, right? Next thing you know, I look down and the girl who was the captain of the girls basketball team, I could tell that she was nervous, right? And so I'm getting more and more nervous. And so anyway, I was in the mass communications major. And so I remember this guy who was one of my teachers. I wish I could remember his name, but it was this guy who was like at one point the voice of Motown or whatever. And he was my teacher in one of my classes. And so I remember, because he was like the voice of Motown, he used to talk in front of a lot of people. And so he kind of taught me some of the things I know about public speaking, right? So I see him on the stage as people are starting to come in, like on the side of the stage. So I get up and I go over there and I talk to him. I was like, hey, Mr. whatever your name is. And I said, hey, I need you to do me a favor. You see that girl right there? She's like super nervous. Okay. I was like, she's super nervous. Can you tell me something that can help her, get rid of the nervousness? And I know that he probably knew that I was talking about myself. Okay. He wasn't stupid. Okay. And so he said, you know what I would tell her? Don't ever lose your nervousness. Don't ever lose it. Okay. He said, because that's what gives you your edge. He was like, even the people that seem like they are the most polished speakers in the world, they go out there, they go out there and they talk to people in large groups of people. He said every single one of them are always nervous for the most part. Okay. He was like, because that's what gives them the edge to make sure that they bring their A game. He was like, the moment you lose your nervousness, before you actually go and speak, you end up losing your edge because you're not going to take it nearly as serious. So he said the biggest thing I could tell you is embrace it and just start talking. He was like, once you start talking, your nervousness will fade away. I have held on to that advice for years. Okay? For years, I have held on to that advice because I didn't realize it, but he gave me a gem right there of how to manage fear. Okay. And what's interesting is that at my last job that I had, I was working at the #1 facilitation company in the world. And the guy who owned that business is like a rock star in the facilitation community. He is literally like the #1 facilitator in the world. He goes all around the world talking to huge crowds. Okay. And I remember asking him one day before we were about to do a strategic planning session. And I asked him, I said, do you ever get nervous? Cause it's like amazing watching you in action. And he said, I get nervous every single time. And this is a person that literally gets up, will hop up in a hot second in front of thousands of people and will rock the room. Okay, will absolutely rock the room. His name is Michael Wilkinson. You can look him up. He is phenomenal. Okay, and this particular guy told me, he was like, man, I get nervous every time. He said, but the difference is that now when I get nervous, I just say, oh, yep, I'm nervous right now. So what's for lunch? Right. And then he keeps it pushing. Right. And so what I started to realize is that fear can actually be helpful if you know how to use it. You understand? If you know how to use it. See, the problem is people use their imagination to buy into fear, and they end up using that fear the wrong way. Okay? And they don't try to overcome it. They allow that fear to actually be a roadblock. Okay? Instead of using that fear and harnessing that fear in order to push forward and make things happen. Okay. So I want to give you a real life strategy that you can use in order to overcome fear. I call it the AAA approach. And I want you to focus on this. Like when you got a big interview coming up or you have some big presentation that you have to do in your career and you're getting nervous, you're getting the butterflies in your stomach, right? I want you to think about the AAA approach because I have used this for years now, and it works. It works like a charm. Okay. The first A stands for anticipate. Okay. You have to anticipate the fear, right? So you know. Okay. Now, if talk, some people genuinely don't get real nervous when they talk to big crowds. And if that's you, then, God bless you. That's all I can say. Okay. But what I will say is most people aren't that way. Right. And when it comes to people going into like job interviews, most people get really nervous. OK, so what I want you to do is I want you to anticipate that nervousness. I want you to actually, before you go into that interview, I want you to visualize as you're preparing for what you might say, the different questions and stuff. I want you to put your mindset in a state of preparation of like feeling yourself nervous before you start practicing the questions that you're going to ask or answer. Because the thing is you may be nervous when you have to start answering some of the questions, right? So I want you to put yourself in that state. I want you to anticipate that things are going to go like that you're going to be mad nervous, right? And that you're going to have a lot of fear and anxiety, right? I want you to imagine that and anticipate it, right? So that when it happens, then you can do the second A, which is acknowledge it. When it happens, you can acknowledge it. The only way you're going to embrace it is if you acknowledge it first. Okay. It's kind of like what I've heard people do in AA or AA meetings, right? What they do is they say one of the main things they have to do is say, I am an alcoholic, right? You have to acknowledge it, right? Because until you realize that you got a problem, okay, it's kind of hard to fix the problem. You understand? And so what most people do is, number one, they don't anticipate it. And then when they get in that situation where they start getting nervous and fear starts to kick in, right? Then they try to fight the fear. They try to fight the fear. That's the worst possible thing you can do. Okay. You don't want to fight the fear. What you got to be able to do is acknowledge the fear. Yep. Remember what I said Michael Wilkinson taught me? He said, yep, I'm nervous. What's for lunch? He acknowledged it and moved on, which brings me to the last A. Okay? You got to act. And you got to act as soon as possible, right? Let me tell you something. When you're afraid, okay, or when you have fear, okay, the time is not your friend. Time feeds the beast. Okay. So if you have fear, when you feel that sensation of fear, the best thing for you to do is to take some type of action. Okay. Take some type of action towards what it is that you're trying to do. Okay. Because as you take action, the fear will magically start to go away. Right. Remember what I told you that particular guy told me when I was on the stage? He said, just start talking. Right? As you start talking, your fear will start to reside. And I tell you, I listened to him and I thank God that I got that advice. And what he said was absolutely right. And once I started talking, it was like all the fear went away and I was confident and I ended up rocking it when I did my presentation on leadership. I rocked it. Okay. But in order for me to rock it, see, the good thing is this, I anticipated it. I anticipated that I was going to get more nervous. Okay. I acknowledged, right? I acknowledged it because I know that until I was able to acknowledge it, guess what? I wouldn't be able to embrace it. I would be trying to fight the fear, and you're never going to win if you try to fight the fear. You need to just embrace it. Yep. I'm scared. Yep. Listen, I'm afraid at this point, right? Yep, I'm nervous, right? Right? But you got to embrace it. But then you got to act. You got to take action. So again, AAA, anticipate, acknowledge, and act. That is how you overcome fear in any part of your life. Okay? But especially when it comes to your career. Okay? You have to anticipate what's going to make you afraid, what's going to cause fear in your life. You have to acknowledge it once it comes up. Right? So that you don't give it power. Because when you fight it, all you do is make it more powerful. Right? You got to embrace it. But in order for you to embrace it, you have to acknowledge it. Acknowledge that, yep, you are afraid. Okay? But then you got to take action. Okay? And you do those three things. And I promise you, you will start to overcome more and more the things that are causing fear in your life. Okay? Listen, I hope you got great value out of this video. If you did, please like this video, comment on this video. Tell me, what are the things that you're afraid of at this point and that you plan to use this AAA approach to overcome? What is the thing you're most afraid of in your career at this point? And then I want you to tell me how you plan to use this AAA approach. Okay. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, go ahead and subscribe. Okay, I'm going to be dropping great content that's going to really take your life to the next level. That's going to take your career to the next level. Okay, so subscribe to my channel and make sure you hit that little bell so that you're notified every time I drop some new content. All right, listen, thanks for checking out this video. I will see you next time. Take care.